your source for everything paranormal. Para X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron on the Para X Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Hey, Merry Meet everybody, and welcome. I've really been looking forward to tonight's show, but beyond that, every cloud has a silver lining, because today I had to go to the dentist. And he pulled a tooth out, and it hurts. But two of my favorite people are with me. Our guest is Philip Earl Johnson, also known as MooNiE. And I've been looking for that, change of pace, breath of fresh air in more ways than one, because it's time that we need to sit back and forget what's going on in this world for, an hour and just have some fun. So that I was looking forward to, but then, you know how it feels when you've been to the dentist, and I thought, I can't do a whole lot of talking tonight. So I kind of twisted my friend Sam's arm, Sam Miller, and she's been on here talking about Haunted Disney and all kinds of stuff before. And I kind of twisted her arm and asked her if she could kind of help be my mouthpiece tonight, and kicking and screaming, but she did. So she's
did.
Here. You did. And the blessing here is that Sam and Philip go way, way back, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But let me just say that for those of you who haven't heard when Philip was on my show talking about the magic of laughter, he's a Chicago-based performer, an actor, a storyteller who's performed his show MooNiE, Juggler, Rope Walker, Foolish Mortal, over 7,500 times at Renaissance fairs and other venues all over the United States. And now, since the Ren fairs have been canceled this year, and a lot of us are having MooNiE Withdrawal, I figured that it would be great if he would come on and give us a little bit of something called MooNiE Tales. So I want everybody to hunker down and get comfortable. And if you start feeling a very strange sensation in your face during the show, really don't panic. It's just that big smile that's been tucked away lately, and it's making a comeback. So, Philip, Sam, thank you so much for being here tonight, and welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's always comforting to be back at the cauldron.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I somehow feel like I never left.
Well, she keeps it, room temperature, so it's kind of a nice place to splash around, right?
It sure is.
Mm-hmm.
Simmering.
Well, but before we get started, I want to just say that in case people don't believe, like I said, in the power of the universe and manifestation, both of you, not strangers to each other, are here with me tonight. And from a metaphysical sense, Sam, even though you were, fighting tooth and nail, and thank you for that,
you're welcome.
I think it was meant to be. So would either of you just like to explain a little bit about how far back your friendship goes and, where it started?
Oh, gosh. I'd worked fairs since the early 60s and had always watched MooNie's show. And I remember one year way over 20 years ago, I was interested in getting his headshots and his information to some of the producers at Disney Studios, because they were casting for some performers and stuff like that. And I went backstage and asked him, and the rest is sort of history.
Yes, and It was lovely that Sam was interested. Unfortunately, nobody else was, but it was it was nice that somebody at least pitched the frisbee up in the air. Even if nobody caught it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, producers, sometimes they can't see
sure.
what's right in front of can't see what's in front of their eyes.
Yeah, they don't know. What
That just gave him more time to do Ren Fairs and entertain us all really happily. And, that's a good thing. And I'm glad that you guys got together because I got to meet you too. So both of you, actually. It's funny how people get together. It's just really, really strange, but in a very good way.
Yes, and we it started with that, but we over the years we've actually gotten to be closer friends and see each other outside the fair and go to Disneyland and eat ice cream and have lunch
and talk magic and
talk magic. Yeah, we did.
Serendipity, yes, we do.
Yeah, and I'm right now I like these three caballeros working tonight together. I do. I like to be part of your gang too. So that's really nice. Thank you. All right. So I mentioned a minute ago about things like MooNiE's show and people that absolutely love it. But while most people know about fairy tales, tall tales, wagging tales, and folk tales, some might never have heard of a MooNiE Tale. So, Phil, what are MooNiE Tales, and how did they come to be?
I got interested in storytelling about 6 years, actually longer than that ago, but it didn't really occur to me that it would be something that I would like to do. But about 6 years ago, I started thinking, hey, you know what, I could do this if I just start. But how do you start? And so I just asked permission to have a stage slot and start telling stories about things that had happened in my life, and and I didn't have a template. Like I didn't have a class. And now there's classes and all of that. But I just started doing it. But luckily I had repeated opportunities to keep going at it. And over time, over the last 6 years, it's really kind of evolved into a more of a comedy sort of a way of presenting, a comedic way of telling the stories. In the beginning, I just was sort of just an interesting thing that happened to me, but as I've gotten more refined in not only the writing but in the performing of them, I find myself oddly, maybe not so oddly, being more interested in the comic element of it. But I still have a great affection for stories that aren't funny that people tell. But I tend to focus more on the sort of funny stuff that has happened.
Yeah, and it's just kind of interesting that you call them MooNiE Tales because MooNiE, the character, doesn't speak really well until he comes out of his, from behind the curtain. So you're going from mute to comedy, but you're still MooNiE. So MooNiE has two different sides.
Yeah. But it's in a way it's sort of marketing because it's at the Renaissance Fair, And so if I called it Stories by Some Guy You Don't Know, I might get a smaller audience than MooNiE Tales. It's just hey, MooNie's talking now. Why don't you come on over? It's really just so serving. It's just it's a better name than Story Time. It just doesn't. It may not.
Well, it turns out though that MooNiE is a magnificent bard, because when you stand up there and tell those tales, it's just magic.
Well,
it is.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm not blowing smoke either. I mean, they're truly well done.
Yeah.
Well, there's a craft to it too. It's not just get up there and telling them. There's writing involved, and to write them and then to learn them in a way so as to be able to tell them in a way that doesn't sound like you've memorized it. There's some technique that I had to learn, but I kind of had to, for myself, I kind of had to invent it for myself.
Well, having been in the audience, it's not just you telling the stories, it's that you include the audience. You make them a part of the story. They can actually believe that they're sitting there watching you, run around this room doing all these wonderful things that you did back in your, 20s and 30s. And you actually put them in that space. You're not just talking to them. You're bringing them in. And that's a real gift.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And I guess that's what I want to do with MooNiE too. Like the regular silent MooNiE show is it's all about the connection. It's all about bringing the audience on stage, whether they're actually on stage, which I do bring people a lot on stage, whether they're bringing them on in reality or whether they're just bringing on their imaginations on stage and having them live through the people who I do bring on stage. You want to have people inside the story, not outside the story looking at it, but being inside the story, looking out and going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm right here in the middle of this story. That's storytelling. That's good. That's what good television does, good films.
Well, and that's your gift too, because, it's, sometimes if there's someone who's not getting it while they're up there, if you have a problem making the show actually happen the way that it usually does, and you have to change right then, right now, and work with that person. And, and what if it, doesn't really want to happen? What do you do,
Well, you just make it up as you go. But I learned a long time ago that if somebody, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, and I don't think it'll sound really derogatory, but it may sound a little derogatory, but in my mind, if it isn't happening with that person, and it could be for many different reasons. Maybe they just have anxiety, or maybe they want to take over and and do their own thing. But I call them in my mind, I go, uh-oh, we got a show killer. So if someone is a show killer is someone who's outside the rhythm of the experience that we are all on. If you're out in a boat on a river or on a lake, you can feel that rhythm of how the waves go. And that's how audiences are as well. And every audience has its own different rhythm, and it's based on the time of day, what the temperature is, how many people are out there, how much alcohol is in the room, how many children are in the room, everything. They're all tiny little contributors, some major contributors to the cauldron of that particular show. And you have to learn. And so some people just are outside the rhythm of that particular show, and you just throw them back. And at first the audience is like, oh, no.
And I've seen you do that.
Oh, sure.
I've seen you throw them back.
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. It's not like a chuck or a hurl. It's more of a leading back.
Get off my stage. No, it's not a chuck.
It's not a chuck.
And then you go shopping again and you find someone new.
Absolutely. It's just like Target. You'll get a new one.
It's kind of, and you're talking about magic, and really what you do is magical, but you mentioned magic a minute ago. Do you possess any magic?
I think we all possess, that's going to sound like a trope. It's going to sound a little pablum-y, we all possess the little magic, but I really do believe that we do possess a little bit of magic, and that, because to me, like the real magic that we have as human beings is our intuition, and I think that we can develop that intuition of who is around us, what energy is around us, signs that are sent to us in the form of animals or odd coincidences, which I don't believe in, and the magic that the more we develop our intuition and the more we trust that, the more magical those moments are when we make those connections of like, that was a thing that I can't explain, but I just know that it's real. And to me, that is the magic that I have, and I have developed in my show. It's it's a crucial part of my show. One of the most important parts of my show is intuition, because I pull people up on stage, and I don't pick anyone in advance, and I have to go out there and I use my intuition. And it's the only little bit of real magic. I don't do magic in my show, like the kind of magic that, like magicians do, like stage magicians, which is all sleight of hand and tricks. Mm-hmm. But it is, the illusion is quite magical, but it isn't actual magic per se. I mean, who's to say what it is really? But I think so. I think that the magic that I have is that kind of intuition. I do say that in the beginning of my first show, I say, like, I try to get the crowd whipped up, and I say, I come on out, and like 4 people clap, and I'm like, no, this is a magic moment. This is not card trick magic. We're talking first crush, first kiss magic. That's the kind of magic that we're talking about. I had my like coincidence. I was talking about coincidence. I don't really believe in coincidence, but it's by odd coincidence. My first kiss in real life was with my girlfriend Darlene. This was back in high school, and my first movie kiss was with and I have to say it's my only movie kiss, but my first movie kiss was also with an actress named Darlene as well. It was in a movie. It was in a movie that I was ultimately cut out of, but the scene.
You kissed your way out. Okay.
I don't know. I only had like 1 or 2 lines. My part was irrelevant, I guess. But anyway, it was
because you weren't juggling.
Oh, apparently I was, because apparently I was the character was married, and I was messing around with the female lead's best friend, who they both worked in this office, and it was my office, this architecture. So anyway, did this long shot, this long shot camera, like shot on the camera where the cameraman is following the main character. She's going through this Christmas party that is she's looking for Darlene, right? And that's not her character's name, but anyway, she's searching for Darlene, and we are in like the supply closet where the paper and the toner and the ink is, during
You're behind the sign, yeah,
making out, right? And but so that we don't have to be making out the whole time, because it's like literally a minute shot that ends with her opening the door and seeing her and I in a clinch, making out, right? So the camera, and Michael Keaton, the actor, Michael Keaton's the director, right? And so there's like a radio inside the room, so that he goes, we're about 5 seconds before the camera is going to find us inside the room. We hear Michael go, okay, Phil and Darlene go. And Darlene and I have been in this room, just the two of us talking. We don't know each other, but she clearly has had more movie kisses than I have. Because when we've just been chatting like folks at a carnival who don't know each other, right? And then at the sound of Michael Keaton go, Phil and Darlene go, she literally takes her hands and she doesn't do anything. None of this is worked out. We didn't work out anything. She pulls her skirt up to her waist so you can see her panties. She lifts her leg and wraps it around my back and pulls my head and sticks her tongue down my throat. What I did was something to the opposite of that. I basically arched my back, what has happened? Where has this octopus come from? It was a terrible acting, just awful. And so we hear Michael go, okay, cut. All right, back to one. Back to one means let's do it again. Clearly was not what they were looking for. Was Phil recoiling in horror as the girl who he was making out with leaps upon him and shoves her tongue down his throat.
See, you clearly needed rehearsal. You clearly needed a rehearsal.
I needed rehearsal.
A run through. You needed a run through.
Some idea that this was going to be a mounting. Rather than, I was kind of thinking we would just be, it would be a tender, romantic, passionate kiss, not a mount. I wasn't ready.
Oh my God! All right. So what was the name of that movie so we can watch it and just imagine that happening at a certain point?
It's called The Merry Gentleman, and Michael Keaton starred in it, and it was his directorial debut. I don't know how you would see it. It must be possible to see it somewhere.
You never know. I mean, if any of us come across it, then we can say, well, we knew somebody who was almost in there and got mauled by an octopus. And, that in of itself is a really good story.
Yeah. But she was really nice. It wasn't like she did anything wrong. It was me. I was the inexperienced, Cub Scout. It was like literally, she should have just taken my Cub Scout cap off right before shooting, Oh, my God.
Funny. Well, that was a very kind of a magical experience. But so I know that you know people who are magical. You hang out with a couple of people that I know of.
I do. I know a few.
So have you experienced things that you believe were magic or are magic?
Oh, definitely. I had a litter of friends, not in the exact words, predicts that what we're going through now with the coronavirus was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't specific. It was very general. And it was about me because I was having some questions about some things that were going on. And she basically said, I don't know what it is, but it's this, this, and this. And the things that she couldn't be any more specific than that. But she told me, and all the things she said fit exactly with what was coming, what is happening now. So, I mean, to me, that's like, how I couldn't possibly have any idea about any of that, but somehow she knew. She didn't know what the specifics were, but she felt this big shift coming, this big change. And she made some recommendations to me, which I took to heart. So that's one example, which was pretty amazing and powerful to me.
It is. And you know what, well, to follow up with that, I've had a lot of guests on the show in the last maybe year and a half that have also been talking about a shift. And they didn't get into any detail either. But every one of them, and they were people that didn't know each other. They came from all kinds of different places. But everybody said the same thing. Sam, have you heard that too amongst your people?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The web, everybody's been weaving that web to try to understand what's going on and to catch what little tidbits that they can. And it's in the air. It's become part of the fabric of what everyone is feeling. And it's been coming for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People with, and I think you're referring to kind of people you're talking to are this friend of mine. And I count you two amongst these people that I know, these people who have this deep intuition that goes deeper than just themselves and just their immediate surroundings, but is connected on a deeper level to culture, to the country, to community, and that deep connection. It's interesting that so many people who have that deep intuition that they can't really explain exactly or explain more specifically about but they're all feeling a similar thing. That's magic. Like that's magic right there.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are just more empathic that way.
Yeah, like you, really empathic.
Well,
yeah,
it's a gift.
It's a blessing
and a curse.
And a curse, yeah, because you just feel everything. But
I did have a moment that I had a magical moment with me that I can't really explain. Maybe you guys can help me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that long ago, it was the opening day of a Renaissance. It was before I even had my own show, and I was sneezing all day, literally, for 12 hours. Sneezing and draining. I was having some sort of an allergic reaction. And one of my really good friends was there that day, and we were supposed to go out to dinner, and I'm like, I can't. Like, I was in misery. Like, it was, and I don't have allergies. That's the other thing. I don't have allergies or anything like that. I never did. I still don't. But I had this one day. I just wouldn't stop. And he said, well, let me come over. After work, I'll come over to where you're staying, and then I'll work on you, because he's a healer, right? Mm-hmm. And he had me lay down on the bed, and he took it was one of those, long-handled hairbrushes, and he took it and pushed it in between each of my toes. I laid on my stomach, and he worked in between my toes. Now, that sounds like a bizarre thing. Like, how does anyone know who trains someone to do this? Like if my dog is sick, I'm like, maybe I should massage right behind its back knee. Like, I don't know how. Somehow he knew, right? So he takes this end of the hairbrush, and he starts pushing it between my toes, and I'm screaming because I'm a Nancy. Like, I pain in me. I'm bad. I'm bad with pain. Like, thank God don't have to give birth, because I seriously, I would take that. Give me the drugs. Give me the drugs. But he's pushing these things, and I'm screaming, and he's like, I'm not even pushing. Stop it. Stop screaming. And he goes through all my toes, and he says, all right, now rest. Just concentrate. And then he goes and does it again, and it doesn't hurt anymore. And he pushed really hard. He said, I'm pushing a lot harder this time, and it didn't hurt. And he goes through all in between all of my toes again, and just like that, the draining and the sneezing stopped. I was 100% cured, and we went out to dinner.
It's magic, and it's healing.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
It's hairbrush Reiki. That's what it is.
Is that what Reiki is?
Yeah.
Is Reiki like pushing between your toes? Because I'll go back for a second.
No.
Reiki is a healing modality. You heal without touching. It's Japanese in nature, and it kind of works with the chi in your body and everything. And you can do it distance Reiki. You can do it up front, up close and personal. I've not had any experience with a hairbrush in Reiki, but it all kind of goes into it, locks into your system. It's that ethereal, Sam, the ethereal body around you that kind of opens up and allows.
It is. Like it's opening up an area that needs to be healed, because our bodies store stress and problems and pain in different areas that you'd never think. If you're mad at somebody and you wonder, why your ankle is aching, things settle. And some people are just instinctive, and they know, and they're empathic, and they know where some of these pressure points are. I mean, let's face it, you're a wire walker, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You put a lot of pressure on your feet, and you balance and you juggle, and a lot of your body pressures and stuff go into your lower extremities and into your feet. So it makes perfect sense to me that a lot of that stress and with problems would be there.
Well, this was before I had my show. I was doing the mud show back then.
Well, it knew it was coming. Your feet were empathic. They knew it was coming.
Well, it is actually painful to walk on a tightrope. If you were trying to do, I couldn't do it on my bare feet. No. I'm sure some people can, but I cannot do it. It's too painful.
Yes, but you have adorable boots.
Yes, MooNiE boots. Well,
you have MooNiE boots.
Those are. I always dedicate my boots to my kids. They're always designed with some element of my kids involved.
And I think I'm going to jump in right now, because we're talking about the show so much. But if they go to your Facebook, there are pictures, there are some videos on your Facebook page. So why don't you give out that information so people can actually see you in action?
Oh, you mean videos of my show?
Mm-hmm. There's little snippets that people have posted and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it was really unfortunately, I don't use the MooNiE page as much. I pretty much stick with the Philip Earl Johnson page,
Mm-hmm.
Philip Earl Johnson with one L, Philip Earl Johnson. But YouTube really is like a really good resource. If you just search for MooNiE.
YouTube is filthy with MooNiE videos.
Yeah, lots of them. That's
they've got all sorts.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
If anybody
And
has
also,
MooNiE
is
Withdrawal,
also on Twitter too.
yeah, it's
MooNiE's on Twitter too.
Oh, okay. See, and I mean, guys, we're sitting home, like here in California, we've got 3 months more to look forward to sitting home. And, after a while, you want something different. You can only watch, Judge Judy too many times or whatever. And so, YouTube is kind of, I do a lot of YouTube watching right now because they just have really interesting, nice things. But yeah, go and have a look because next year, God willing, when this ban is lifted, Philip is MooNiE all over the country. And you might really want to go see him in action because it's an amazingly funny, wonderful show. And, so go take a peek while you got nothing better to do, guys. And you won't be sorry you did. All right, now I'm through advertising for you. I'm like beating a drum, right? But
yeah.
And that, okay, so you're such a person of many talents. Do you drum? Because I know you're very talented in so many ways. Do you drum? Are you a drummer?
Yeah, no, I'm not a drummer. I mean, if you were in my basement, if you were hanging out in my basement, you'd be like, "That's a drummer." Because I have all drums. I even have like an old Pearl drum set that I got used from Brune's wife when she left Chicago and moved to California to be Mrs. Brune. But that's still in my basement. But I'm not really a drummer. But I've always loved drums. I had a, and probably why I added that drum bit into my shows is because I thought they were cool and being in a drum circle was cool. But I just don't really have a lot of talent for it. But I had a kind of a magical experience with a drum back in, my gosh, early on in my life. I went to this these drum makers' house with another performer, and we went to stay there. They were friends of his, and we went there for a few days and hung out and smoked a little weed and ate good food and did some drumming, and they made these beautiful, beautiful drums, right? And one time we were drumming on this drum circle, and I was pounding on this one particular drum, for quite a while. You don't have to be a great drummer to be in a drum circle. You just have to have hands, So I qualified. And I had this bracelet on, this white bracelet on. I'd had it on for a couple of years, and it never came off. It was just tied with like fabric. And so anyway, I was pounding and pounding and pounding, and afterwards I noticed that it was on the floor, and it had just come untied after 2 years while pounding on this drum. And I said, it's kind of odd that came off. And the drum makers were like, no, you see the colors on the drum. And the way the drum is made, it had some fabric wrapped around it, and it was wrapped with red and white fabric around the drum. And they said those were the Shongu colors. Shongu is an African god of war, and it said that's not a coincidence. It came off as a sign. And I was like, oh my gosh, so like, this is amazing. So we smoked some more pot, and they're like, that drum,
that helped.
That drum is yours. It should be yours. And so I bought it for $250. So it was a sign that
foolish mortal. Foolish mortal.
Exactly. It was a sign that the guy with $250 just walked in the room. And it's still in my basement, like, just hardly played.
All right, we're going to drum away for a minute because we're going to take a quick break. So everybody, we'll be back in about 2.
Stirring the Cauldron will be right back, so don't go away. If you end up with webbed feet, remember, you've been warned.
Hey there. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a great new radio show on Para X. 2 hosts, 1 hour, and too much fun. Stephanie and Heidi not only talk about the latest goings-on in the supernatural worlds, they live it. They want to hear from you. They want to help you understand and guide you. And they want you to tune in. So, grab a friend or come alone to gather around that metaphysical table with Heidi and Stephanie. If you're interested in the worlds of the unseen, tune in to the Gathering Radio Show, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Para X Radio.
You've no doubt heard of Tango and Cash, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Perhaps it takes 2 to tango. Well, now, on the first and third Thursdays of each month, there's a show called Tango and Friends at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Para X Radio Network with your host, Bruce Tango. And yes, there will be at least 2 to tango on each episode, sometimes even more. There's going to be lots of topics and lots of guests you'll all know and lots of surprises. Tango and Friends every first and third Thursday of the month at 8 p.m. right here on the Para X Radio Network.
Missed an episode of Stirring the Cauldron? Then be sure to check out marlabrooks.com and check out the archive. And while you're there, check out Marla's weekly Witches Oracle card reading. Explore the site to find many great resources, such as information on tarot, oracle readings, metaphysical consultations, and links to all of Marla's books. That's marlabrooks.com. Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
I said it before and I'll say it again, that intro music to come back makes me want to grab a staff and start marching into a war somewhere. I don't know. It does. It's just, it invigorates me, I guess, or something. But
onward
anyway.
and upward.
Well, that's exactly kind of what it is, yeah. But, you know, I love Mike Lear for putting that on for me, but it just, the first time I heard it, it was like, huh? Where's the mark? I'll open the gates. Yeah.
I'll get you, my pretty.
There you go. Absolutely. So, I keep meaning to tell you this, Phil, but, you know, we talked about MooNiE being a mute character. Like, you know, I kind of compare you to Harpo Marx doing that because, like, when you whistle words and people can hear exactly what you're saying through a whistle. I mean, it's really wonderful. And I told this to Sam, a few months ago, but there are birds in the yard here. I call them MooNiE birds because they whistle exactly like you and you can hear words coming out of them.
Are you saying I ripped off the birds? Like, my God,
No.
everywhere you turn, somebody's got...
They're going to ask for royalties. I don't know. You know, I swear to you, the first time I heard it, I did a double take because I said, wait, no, that was Phil. You know, and then no, that's the bird outside. And then it did it again. And it was like, you know, like when you whistle thank you, it was
Right.
that.
Right.
And I'm like, this is too creepy. Absolutely too creepy.
Well, I actually had a friend email me last night with a video that was taken so I could hear the birds that she said every day she wakes up and hears those birds and also think so. You actually are not alone in that feeling.
Good, because I was beginning to worry.
I've never heard those birds.
Well, geez, you're going to have to come over here one of these days and just sit and listen because they
I
are.
guess so.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
kind of blew past me.
Yeah, it was like that, especially that thank you whistle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one I heard, and I'm like, oh wow, we haven't seen him in a long time. You know, he's coming in spirit now. But,
I don't know. I kind of like when he whistles. Just stay there. Don't move.
You gonna make him do it?
Well, the whistle has become obviously like inseparable from my identity as a performer. Mm-hmm. And I never, that whistle was, I didn't know how to whistle like for the first, say, 5 or 6 years of doing the show. I developed the whistle because I was moved to a bigger stage, where what I was doing before, which I used to go like this, and direct people like that. But you couldn't hear it in the back row. So I'm like,
it didn't carry far enough. Yeah.
Didn't carry. So I learned the whistle, and then the whistle talking kind of just evolved by accident. And then I started, then I just started adding more words and more vocabulary, and it is definitely, people recognize me in public if I whistle. I've had people. I was actually doing a play at the Goodman Theater in Chicago last year. It was a Shakespeare play, and I had done one at the Goodman the year before, and I the crew downstairs, and I got to know everybody, and I worked there a few times, so I know everybody. Anyway, I had worked with this one woman who did the wigs and the hairstyling. And then the second year, the one I did last year, was a Shakespeare play. I was asked to write some songs and said that I would sing in the play. The character had songs, so they asked me to write the music and actually write one full song that was not even Shakespeare and perform that as well. But in one of those songs, I added some whistle into the song, because it was a song that was mentioning birds a number of times. So instead of talking about birds, I just whistled like those birds, right? And in rehearsal, in the tech, that wig woman who I had worked with, and I had the main character of the play before, so I had seen her a lot, worked with her a lot. And she said that she heard the whistle through the monitor and was like, wait, I know that whistle. What is that? What is that? And she kept thinking, she's like, that's MooNiE. That's MooNiE. And then she said, why is MooNiE here? And then she realized, like, oh my God, Phil is MooNiE. I didn't even realize that. So she had worked with me for many times before, and she had seen me at the fair, but she didn't put it together that the actor who was doing this serious play was also the clown boy who whistles outside Marla's window.
That's funny. I mean, you're noted for many things.
Well, it's not always the whistle that's a dead giveaway. Do you remember when we were out at Disneyland one day and you were just standing there talking, you made some gesture, and from yon hill over there somebody goes, MooNiE? Remember?
Wow.
Yeah.
People come running up, MooNiE? It's just something that you did.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You are beloved of your audience.
Yes, all 7 people.
Yes.
Yeah, put several zeros.
Well, 6 if I take the dog back home. Yeah.
No, it's amazing because, when we're at the fair and, you're walking around, people just gravitate to you like a magnet. And you're not, yes, you're telling everybody what time the next show is going to be and stuff like that, but sometimes you're just kind of walking, from point A to point B, and you're like a magnet. You get just covered in people.
The whistle helps.
Well, and it's the fa-la.
Now it's going to be in my head
The
again.
fa-la.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like a small world.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up. No,
that's all right. It's fine. For those who don't know, there is one part of the act where that it's the flower, right? He makes like a little what do you call it, with flowers.
Paper flower, little paper flower.
A little paper flower. He has somebody up there. He gives her one, and she has one. He has one, and then he pantomimes and teaches her how to make this piece of paper look like a flower, which it never does, which is really great fodder for down the line. But it comes along with the little fa-la-la. You want to fa-la-la just for a second?
Sure. Since maybe, sure, why not? People might be missing it. Fa-la, fa-la-la, fa-la, fa-la-la, fa-la, fa-la-la, and so on.
Yay!
As it goes along, and pretty soon, this flower, and he makes a beautiful flower, and of course, nobody knows how to do it, so that just makes it even funnier, because then, there's that feigning frustration, and then, trying to make, and then the person that's doing it is starting to go, oh, I can't do this, and it's really, really good.
It's a trick, though. That's kind of a little bit of a magic trick in that, not in sort of a roundabout, unconventional way, in that it looks so easy from the audience. Mm-hmm. Like, as you watch me do it without even, I don't even have to look at it. Like, I can do it just looking at her. But what the audience doesn't realize is that the way I position my hands, and I do it on purpose, is she can't see it. She can't see the flower. You can see it, and it looks so obvious and so easy, but my hand is blocking the flower, and she's trying to follow, but she can't see it. That's what basically she's supposed to do, but she can't see it specifically. So it's a little bit of a trick in that, and you never see anyone do a good flower. Like, nobody, way more people throw the water on me at the end of the show than have ever been able to make the flower. Maybe 20 people in over 8,000, close to 9,000 shows, really, at this point. It's really close to 9,000 shows that, and maybe 20 have made a really good flower. It's so rare.
So what happens when they do? Are you kind of flabbergasted?
Yes, it kills the show.
Then comes the screeching halt.
It's not as funny. It's like, oh yeah, you're good. Okay, all right, next thing. I
love you and your cheese. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Well, you're so good at improvisation. I mean, something that somebody wouldn't even notice. All right, so one of the days that Sam and I were there, an airplane flew over. Now, you were, I think, tightening the tightrope or whatever, doing your thing. But instinctively, you heard a plane. And it wasn't like Tattoo heard a plane, not pointing it out. But you just looked up at it. And you stared at it for a minute. Everybody started laughing. The timing, the expression, and everything. It's all these little improvisations that make the show so interesting. And I think I have to recategorize that outside the realm of improv, because that may have been the first time you saw that, but it's certainly not the first time a plane has come overhead while I've been performing, right? So here's the thing, even something that seems like, oh my gosh, that was totally just made up on the spot. I may have done that already, maybe 4 times out of the 9,000 shows, but it's not new to me anymore. Anything I do, I could theoretically call back and use again and again and again. And that's the benefit of experience. That's the benefit of having gone through that dance so many times. The skill isn't improv. The skill is actually acting. True.
I act like it's the first time that I have done it. And everything, sometimes something is brand new. It's the first time. And I will actually stop the show, talk, and say, in 9,000 shows, that's the first time that anyone thought to do that. And that was funny. And then I always give the participant a big round of, the audience gives them a big round of applause, because it's so great when one person out of thousands and thousands of people comes up with one brilliant new idea. I'm always so grateful and astounded that I feel that they deserve congratulations for that, because I didn't think of it either. Like, but it wasn't my role. You know, I'm the clown. They're the person that has to deal with what I'm telling them what to do. So, but someone does. So, you know, the skill is not. Yes, sometimes it's improv, but really it's acting. Really, it's taking a thing that you know. It's like jazz. It's a thing that you've done, that you know you've done before, sometime in the last 30 years of your life, and pulling it back at the exact moment that you need it. Exactly. And making it look like it was the first time.
Mm-hmm. But that's what you do in your acting, is when you do that, when you see the plane or you hear the plane go over and you act like maybe, you know, you're hiding from it or you're looking for it, what you're doing is you're signaling to the audience that something else is happening, that something else might be coming. And you draw them in. That's exactly what you're doing. You're giving them that little cue that, you know, what's going on. And that's the mastery of that, what you do. Because you just hook them and bring them in, even with, you know, little things like that.
Yeah, but hopefully they're already there. That's the beauty of live performance.
Oh, no, they are already there, but you're just bringing them in even more. You're giving them more than they expected.
Yes, indeed. And I won't continue on with the show unless I think that they're all there. I'm not going to just do a show and have you guys just sit there and go, yeah, I'm here, and that guy's doing a thing, and I'm here doing my thing, and I'm watching that. No, we're in this together. We're doing it together, and we don't leave the shore in the boat until, you know, almost you can't get everyone, because some people, you know, you just can't have everyone. But the vast majority of the people there, you have to use technique and experience to get everyone in the boat and everyone on the same rhythm before we leave the shore. So
you've got a lot of people in the boat, because I've seen people bring their babies in MooNiE costumes and their kids in MooNiE costumes, you know, that are absolutely identical to yours. I mean, there's that detail that they're just, you know, they're embracing you so much.
It is adorable until that family's on my lawn. Then it's not.
Well, here's the other thing, too, that I noticed. There are people there that know the show very well. Every different scene, every different thing that you do, they know it. But they sit there and they wait and they wait. It's just so, the expectation there is so wonderful, because they just can't wait to see it again and again. And you can't say that about a lot of performers. You know, you go to see somebody once in a while and, okay, well, I've been to that show and I've been to that show. But I would bet, I don't know what the percentage would be, but probably more than 50% of the people that are there are not newbies. They come every year to every fair to see
and
you.
Know every line.
Yes.
Well,
and repeat them back.
True. I'm just grateful. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. I'm
11.
lucky, and I'm grateful for that. And but I think the main reason why people do that, I think, is because they're never sure exactly what's going to happen. It's the same show, but
That's
I
right.
don't do it the same way every time. And sometimes I have to handle things, because things don't always go as planned, and I have to handle them. And I think that's what they like the best, is, MooNie's got to handle something, and this isn't going to be pretty. Like, here
your
we go.
body language. I like the body language sometimes, one arm across the other and God knows what else. It works. It gets people's attention, and it's funny. It really is funny.
Yeah, well, clown. No one cares about clown pain. They just laugh at clown pain. So I put myself in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, you've hurt yourself in the middle of it too, clowning around once in a while.
I have, yeah,
and
sure.
The show still goes on. I mean, that's the way it has to be. We're getting close to running out of time, but before we get the proverbial hook, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to say, I mean, obviously, I would be remiss to, I mentioned it earlier, but we're obviously in this new time, this new paradigm shift. I'm at home. I'm safe. I mean, unfortunately, I can't work. All my shows are canceled. Yeah. Actually, the next Renaissance Fair has not been canceled yet. The Bristol Renaissance Fair, we don't know. It isn't canceled. It is yet to be determined. We're all hoping it happens. Fingers crossed. That being said, who knows? My financial future is challenging, but I'm okay today, and we only have today anyway, right? So, but it's the people out there in the front lines, the health workers, the grocery workers, the essential jobs that are out there on every day and are risking being out there because they have to, and it's the right thing. So thank you to them, especially the health workers. I have some friends who are in that profession, and it's really it is our job to be grateful for them, and I am truly grateful for them. Much love and respect to them. I have I've had some really funny, like, sort of doctor moments that happened, but like one of the neatest ones that ever happened was I had torn my meniscus. I didn't know it at the time, but I had torn my meniscus, and I went into this orthopedist, and he asked me to tell me about it. I said, well, I did it while I was dancing and any of this and he said, and I said, but I need to get this looked at and fixed as quickly as possible because I'm a performer. He said, oh, well, where do you work? I said, oh, at the Renaissance Fair. He's like, do you know a guy? I've been up there with my kids. Like, do you know a guy who walks on a tightrope and does Shakespeare on the weekends? I'm like, yeah, that's me. He said, oh, really? And then he told me this story about how I had taken 10 or 15 minutes after a show. I didn't actually remember it happening, but I believed him that I did it, and taught his son how to juggle for 10 or 15 minutes. And it went out to become a very important part of his life. And it actually got him his first job. He got a job in business. He got a degree in business, and then was juggling. He in his interview, the interviewer said, "Is there anything else you want to show me?" And he said, "Well, I can juggle." And they said, "Well, show me." So he grabbed 3 things off the guy's desk to juggle. So he was hired. So it became an important part of that guy's life. But anyway, when he found out that I was the guy he's like, "Don't worry, we're going to get you fixed." I was in surgery within 5 days, and I was back up on the rope in 2.5 weeks. Wow. After getting meniscus surgery. Oh, so boy. The health workers and doctors, they in no small way are magicians of our modern day. Like, it's just magic what they can do.
Yes, it is. Well, I would, like I said, I would give you a chance to say where you're performing in the near future, but futile at the moment. But if people go, you said your Facebook page is Philip Earl Johnson, but what's your Twitter?
MooNiE, yeah.
And MooNiE. And what about the Twitter handle?
Oh, I think it's MooNiE Clown. If you search for MooNiE Clown, it's something like that. I don't remember. I can never remember. I'm not good at that stuff.
Yeah, me neither. I don't blame you. All right. Well, I want to thank you both for being here. Both of you have made my day. You're the silver lining from that evil dentist. And I really appreciate the smiles and the good feelings. And hopefully I'll be seeing both of you soon at some point.
Fingers crossed.
And anybody wants to know anything, you know where to find them. And I want to thank everybody for listening in tonight as well. And be safe, be careful, stay at home. Blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night, everybody.
The circle be open, but unbroken. May the peace of the goddess be ever in your heart. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. Merry meet again.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Please join us again next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited.